A bright, happy teenager with her whole life ahead of her. But in the spring of 1993, Alison Newstead was found dead. Last seen leaving her home 25 years ago tomorrow. She made a stop at this cafe on Vincent Street, then vanished.
It's our belief that there are people still out there that have information relevant to this investigation, and importantly, we also believe that there are certain individuals out there that are sitting on valuable information that can help us take this matter forward.
A week after she vanished, her naked body was found in an abandoned colliery in Pelton outside of Cessnock. Her killer or killers have never been found. Detectives wouldn't say if new information had led them to make this renewed public appeal, but said DNA testing is now an option.
We have new technologies now that weren't available 25 years ago, and we'll be conducting a forensic review of all items seized as part of the initial investigation. Family are obviously still very upset and want answers. This
month would have been Alison's 42nd birthday. In a tight-knit community like Cessnock, police believe someone knows something. A $100,000 reward for information put up by the state government 20 years ago is still on the table. Anyone who may have seen Alison here at the Carousel Cafe or has information about her death should contact Crime Stoppers. Georgia Ma, NBN News.
Edward Ted Hall will spend his first night behind bars tonight after an extended verdict hearing at Newcastle District Court today. Judge Tim Gardelman spent more than 5 hours detailing all 31 alleged charges in front of a packed gallery. In one instance, Judge Gardelman detailed a trip which Hall took to Gloucester with a student, where he told the then 14-year-old he was a practicing nudist and asked him to take his clothes off. The defence argued that Hall and the student changed in the back of a car with a towel wrapped around them. Hall was eventually found guilty of 21 charges relating to the sexual and indecent assault of 11 schoolboys while he was a teacher at St Pius X at Adamstown during the 1970s and 80s. Judge Gardelman noted several victims' evidence as very convincing, believing they were being truthful with genuine attempts to recollect information. But he also labelled evidence from 2 students as unreliable and confusing. Judge Gardelman labelled Hall's evidence as inconsistent at times. Hall's bail was revoked as he sat in the dock just half an hour ago. He is always denied all the charges.
The room was bright and buzzing at Maroba Aged Care's Spring Fair this morning. A warm welcome for some international guests, hoping to make a difference in caring for the elderly.
We're very interested in what they think about us and where they think they can contribute and support us in learning and growing and developing our techniques and our approaches to care.
Korean Hospital Association members came together to learn, compare and raise the bar on aged care worldwide. The visit comes ahead of a royal commission into the sector just announced by Prime Minister Scott Morrison.
So even though there may be some issues around aged care that the Australian population's interested in at the moment, the thing is that aged care is still, in Australia, is still a very attractive model for our international professional colleagues.
For many, lifting standards is vital.
We feel that delivering more human-centered, person-centered care, person-centered services is better than the Korean case.
And the biggest indicator of success is remembering one important thing.
They don't live in our workplace, we work in their home.
Lauren Kemp, NBN News.
I'm super excited about it. A lot of my friends have played in this league before, and I wanted to come and see what it's about, and they've had nothing but positive things to say about it. I would describe myself as like a dynamic player. I like to go 1v1. I like to, take chances and create chaos and stuff. So hopefully I want to do that this season.
Taking over a title-winning side is never an easy task.
There'll be high expectations and everyone will be out to obviously measure themselves against us.
But for Anthony Foy, the Hunters' new head coach, the overriding feeling is excitement.
It's good. I've been involved in around the program for a while with my role in Youth League and as a spectator as well, so it's good to have the opportunity.
He has his work cut out with the retirement of club legend Josh Morgan, while at this stage, it's looking like superstar import Austin Thornton, the league's MVP, won't be returning.
You get lucky about once in every 10 years with someone like Austin. Some of these practice habits and the things he did rubbed off well on some of the other kids.
But Foy, a Hunters junior himself, will have a host of emerging talent to call on, likely to include his son, Jacob.
But he's a far better player than I am a coach, so hopefully that'll work out okay.
Shannon Seaborn returns to lead the women's side, also looking to promote its next generation after a finals appearance.
I think we've really laid a foundation that now we can build on, not just in this, senior championship women, but youth league and also through to our juniors as well.
The big plan, recruiting experience. It's hoped Hannah Young and Cassidy McLean will return from the WNBL, and so could Novocastrian Opal Katie Ray Ebzery.
If we could bring someone of that calibre back would be, unbelievable for us. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. She's obviously going to have a few options in front of her.
And I think it just hit home for all of us, especially living on the Gold Coast. She did it at Snapper Rock surfing, and now she's a paraplegic, and she was such a good competitor. So to help out in that sort of way and just see how positive she is, was the least we could do.
They've seen and done plenty, and they're still laughing. And just as well for these seasoned professionals are embarking on a new venture in radio.
We're outrageous radio, we're fun, we're entertaining, and we're local.
Very soon, the on-air team will begin broadcasting live on the new 2UW.com.
In the true sense of the word, we're a retro radio station.
From their Mayfield studio, they'll hit the airwaves, the World Wide Web and the mobile.
People are getting more and more of their content online, on their phones, and that's where people can listen to us.
But when the on-air light flashes, those behind the mic say one thing's for certain.
What we're doing is integrating local news, local interviews, from politics to community organisations, community events.
While the new 2UW.com may be the latest player in the Hunter media industry, its launch comes just 1 year after the Newcastle Sunday newspaper folded after just 3 months.
Look, I feel pretty good. Fortunately, I'm surrounded by fellow time travellers who have all been in radio or marketing or broadcasting or public relations for many, many years. You can tell by the grey that we're a bit old, but that age, I think, gives you a bit of confidence because we've made all the mistakes in the past, so we're not making one now.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It's not your average fashion show, but these runway rookies made it look easy, showing off some of Vinnie's best with a smile and a slash to the price tag.
So we've got quite a family affair. We've got 6 people from one family modelling today.
Stylish volunteers donned pre-loved threads, new and old, sending the message that good fashion doesn't have to cost a fortune.
We have some beautiful clothing that's donated by the wonderful donators in the area. At reasonable prices.
From Mayfield to Westfield, a Newcastle fashion magazine held its first regional runway event. The Face of Fason saw 8 local girls compete for editorial shoots and a national modelling contract. While this is the first time the event has been held, it's more than just a runway show. It's about boosting young women's confidence to not only love the fashion they wear, but the skin they're in. For many of these young ladies, it was their first time on the catwalk, walking effortless strides in spring style.
So there's a great pool of talent here in Newcastle, and we've discovered that a while ago with Fason, and that's the reason why we even started the magazine, because we saw such great local talent.
The magazine hopes to give Hunter girls the same opportunity next year. Lauren Kemp, NBN News.
This was Lauren Parker's first session back on the bike since the Gold Coast World Championships. Incredibly, the 29-year-old won bronze that day, still recovering from major spinal surgery. Even now, she's yet to regain feeling in parts of her arms and stomach. But nothing will stop her from chasing her dream. Just another example of why she's been nominated for the Don Award, recognising sports people who have most inspired Australia.
It's great to know that what I've had to overcome in the last 12 months has inspired so many people and has made an impact. So just being recognised like that, yeah, makes it all worthwhile.
Her latest medal epitomises that.
Have my first World Series World Championship medal is an amazing feeling, and especially what I had to overcome as well. The main thing was I really wanted to race unprepared, because that would give me confidence for the races ahead, knowing that I came third at the World Championships and I was unprepared. So for when I am prepared, let's see what it brings.
It may bring a return to racing in Hawaii. She wants to compete at Kona in 2021, a race she has done before her accident, and this weekend is spectating.
I just love the place. I love the whole atmosphere, and the memories will come back, but I just got to move forward and look to when I will race there again.
A dream made that little bit easier after being unveiled as QBE Insurance's official ambassador.
It's definitely given me motivation to, not just in training, but to be the best athlete I can be and inspire as many people as possible.
Good morning, it's Go Green, the Wingham Unit Commander. We're at the Gunya Road Causeway. It's 11:45 on the 6th of October. Minor flooding over the causeway, as you can see. Thank you.
It's a devastating and heart-wrenching scene. A mangled wreck, a car twisted and torn to pieces, and a life lost. The male driver died just before 7:30 this morning when his car rolled several times and slammed into a power pole at Edgeworth. For most of the day, crash investigators remained at the scene, taking a closer look from every angle. Police say he was the only person in the car at the time and is yet to be formally identified. There was carnage on the Central Coast as well. A car flipped on its side at Lake Mamora in this two-car crash. A P-plater injured, accused of turning on the very paramedics there to help him.
It appears that there may be alcohol and speed involved in this one.
His injuries not serious, but charges are likely to be laid. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Swimming ducks and hand-dug trenches, giving a whole new meaning to Matara Festival's water world. But just days before the show was set to finish, weekend events had to be called off.
We knew it was coming, but we thought we might just get through it and maybe miss one day. But on Thursday night it came down, and on Friday morning the park was flooded. You couldn't get to the rides, you couldn't get to the pools, you couldn't get to the toilets. It was a disaster.
Entertainers, rides and activities were all cancelled. But with this location favoured as the new home of the age-old event, getting things back on track is the main focus.
After making the move from Foreshore Park to Wallsend, this year's festival saw around 20,000 people attend, double last year's numbers. While the rain is expected to stay around for a little longer, organisers are saying the show must go on.
Matara is all about making memories and the hand of friendship. Well, we've done that here and we've had massive crowds. It's been amazing.
The Wallsend community is not letting the rain spoil the show, and eyes are already on next year.
The neighbours have been incredible and we thank them for that as well. Everybody has come forward. The Wallsend community, we have many people from the Wallsend community involved in Matara helping and trying to push it forward, and we've had a lot of people come forward and offer to help for next year.
Pending good weather, the show will reopen this Friday through to Sunday. Lauren Kemp, NBN News.
They're the old hotels of Newcastle, lost over time but never forgotten.
So quite a number of the hotels are completely gone, whereas quite a number of the former hotels still exist.
While the buildings may look different, the pubs come and gone, the stories of each and every one still remain. Now they're being retold by historian Ed Tonks. More than 60 hotels are detailed in dry lines and empty cellars, highlighting the ever-changing face of some of the city's most recognisable hotels.
In the late 1930s, the licence was removed across the road to the Art Deco second Glasgow Arms Hotel, and the 1870s Glasgow Arms Hotel still exists as a building today.
However, that's not the case for all. For some hotels, like the Lord Cardigan at Cooks Hill and the Sir Hercules Robinson at Hamilton, last drinks were called after only a few short years. For others, though, like the Bel Air at Katara and the Cosmopolitan Hotel at Carrington, closing time didn't come for decades.
The classic is, of course, the Bel Air Hotel, a marvellous hotel, a great money spinner, until, of course, the social dynamics changed and there was more value in the land, developing the land, and in the hotel.
Dry line and empty cellars will be launched later this month at the Commonwealth Hotel. Its story still being written. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
This is our first time here in Newcastle, and with an uptake in its first year of over 850 registrants, it's possibly one of the best starts we've had in the 32 bloody long walks we've done to date around Australia.
Dan Frost has been a mad rugby league fan his whole life. Unfortunately, he also has Australia's worst case of multiple hereditary exotosis. He's had around 40 operations and has up to 200 tumours in his body.
From a very early age, the specialist sort of sat me down and said,
you wouldn't be able to play rugby league, you wouldn't be able to play contact sport. So for me, that was devastating.
Having battled shoulder cancer for almost 5 years, Frost thought he'd have to retire from all forms of sport. Then he heard about Physical Disability Rugby League. He not only played club footy in 2018, he also earned a call-up to the Australian side.
This has been my first year playing in the competition with the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and we started off as wooden spoon favourites but went on to win the premiership. So it's been a great year, and then to get that call, I was speechless.
Among his other highlights was playing against his childhood hero Andrew Johns in a game between South Sydney and Warrington, which also featured comedian Adam Hills. Despite his success with the Bunnies, Frost is hoping to find a new club for next season.
There's a lot of work happening behind the scenes as to the teams for 2019, and let's just see what happens there. But we'd certainly love to run out in the red and blue one day.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I can't believe I got a 10.1 in that sort of surf. And yeah, I'm psyched.
Around 9:45 last night, a vehicle carrying 4 people hit a curb on Salamander Way in Port Stephens before landing on its side in a front yard. One of the passengers was ejected from the rear seat and trapped underneath the vehicle. He suffered chest and pelvic injuries and was freed after bystanders righted the car. Several emergency crews and the rescue helicopter attended the scene, but the injured 23-year-old was eventually taken by road to John Hunter Hospital. He's reported to be in a stable condition, with his injuries not as bad as first feared. The other passengers were not hurt. Statewide, it was a horror weekend for emergency services, with ambulance paramedics called to 240 crashes over the last 3 days.
The weather event has been prolonged, and with the continued rain that we've had, particularly on the back of drought conditions, drivers' behaviour really needs to be attuned to the weather.
One at Edgeworth saw a male driver killed when his car rolled several times and slammed into a power pole. It was the worst of 39 serious accidents during a wet weekend on Hunter roads. Emergency services are once again appealing to drivers to slow down in the wet and consider the impact their actions have on the community and those called to the scene of such accidents.
Just drive to the conditions and simply think about the number of lives that one individual's actions can have on so many different people, including the paramedics and emergency services.
A boarding house, now boarded up. Number 86 is like a beacon on Waratah Street, but today it was almost empty. Inside, abandoned suitcases and garbage bags filled with belongings. The men who lived here had to leave in a hurry.
They're devastated being ripped out from their home.
The Mayfield property was one of 3 slapped with non-compliance orders by Newcastle Council last week amid fire safety concerns. Landlord Aaron Buman says he's beginning to lose track of his former tenants, some of whom have disabilities and mental health problems.
Some I'm quite concerned about. I've got 4 missing in action. I know there's a big bunch of lads camping out in the bush, just trying to ride it out so they can actually come back home.
Meanwhile, homeless outreach organisation the Matthew Talbot Centre has staff working around the clock to solve the crisis.
We do focus on prioritising rough sleepers, so if there are rough sleepers out there and anyone knows of them, please get online and get onto our website. We are really just trying to facilitate appropriate accommodation for people, and we want it to be safe and we want it to be appropriate.
The centre has found accommodation for 40 men so far, securing a permanent place to stay for 9, short-term accommodation for 8, and temporary for 12. Another 8 are renting privately, 1 has moved interstate. Newcastle Council did not respond to a request for comment. Jacinta Lee, NBN News.
Very disappointing after all the hard work that all the guys have put into it. It's taken quite a while to get it up to this stage. Vandals, I just cannot stand vandalism. I cannot see the point in it.
It's a landmark retail development over 30,000 square metres. Bunnings, Spotlight and Anaconda will be the anchor tenants at the Pacific Highway site, with a number of other businesses, 2 fast food outlets and a service station also included in the plans. Anaconda and Spotlight in Newcastle West will relocate to Bennett's Green. The nearby Belmont Bunnings will also close and move.
No doubt that site will be picked up straight away because those sites are hard to come by, especially on the eastern side of the lake, and no doubt that'll be developed in the future.
The Lake Macquarie Mayor says the new retail centre will be a big boost for the local economy with 600 full-time jobs. But will smaller existing businesses suffer? There are 9 Bunnings across the Hunter. A hardware store at Warners Bay closed only 2 weeks ago.
No, I think it'll do the opposite actually. I think it'll encourage more business. You'll see a lot more people coming out to the area here, so it'll generate a lot more small business to open up.
The Bushland site was originally sold to Masters before that business went belly up. The neighbouring sports ground at Windale won't be affected by the development. Work on stage 1 will begin soon, with stores opening within 14 months. Meanwhile, IKEA devotees are eagerly awaiting news of whether the Swedish furniture giant is coming to Lake Macquarie. It still has its eye on land at Bullaroo and is currently in talks with Pasminco's administrator, Ferrier Hodgson.
We're pretty excited about the prospect as well, and as you know, the Pasminco site's been there for a long time. We're really keen to have that developed.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
I'm here because this electorate deserves more.
much more. This electorate is the powerhouse for New South Wales, yet we get very little in return.
"12 days out from their opening game of the A-League season, and the Jets are ready and raring to go. Even the defenders are heading in the right direction as Newcastle prepares for the trip to Wellington to face the Phoenix. Midfielder Steven Ugarkovic is the Jets' quiet achiever. The club's 2016-17 Player of the Year started every game during the 17-18 campaign, but feels like there's still room for improvement.
The season we had last year, it was something special, and I want to see if we can replicate that this year. And personally, I feel like I'm taking my game to the next level under Ernie and the coaching staff here.
Part of that personal development involves getting further forward and scoring more goals. He spent part of his off-season at the First Phase Factory Training Centre in Sydney, working on fitness and finishing.
I still focus on the little things on the field that maybe people don't see, those tackles, the meters and things like that. But yeah, I would love to step that part of my game up.
Despite his long-term deal, Ugarkovic hasn't given up on playing overseas.
It's obviously still a dream of mine, and I'm in no rush. I'm still only 24. So when you look at players go overseas like Amoy when he was 27.
Representing Australia at the highest level remains another long-term goal.
It would always be an honour to represent your country. Dimmy had a great season last year, so that's proof that it can happen. But I'm more focused just with the Jets at the moment.
With series leader Martin Schonker eliminated early and ending up in 10th spot, Hall had everything to fly for in the round of 8. But for the third year in a row, the Australian sealed his fate at the second gate in Indianapolis. It did, leaving Hall 6th for the event.
The first part's just the next 24 hours, just get the disappointment out of the system.
He earned 5 points for the round, but unfortunately Michael Goulian from the US won the race to assume the championship lead.
Things change very quickly in this game, so 7 points. If I win the next round, if Goulian doesn't make it into the round of 4, I'm beating him. So there's some big points at the top end of this game, and 7 points is nothing.
The final round begins at the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth on November 17.
There were placards and chants, but this was a peaceful protest. Service providers seeking support from the government to help them support Australians through the NDIS.
The issue that we've got is since the rollout of the NDIS, there has been no investment in workforce development, and there's also been no investment in ensuring that services are secure and sustainable.
When the funding model changed, money was allocated to the individual. Providers say that's left little for them and their workforce.
I think it'd be fair to say it's a state of frustration for many participants, for workers and for services alike.
This week, the Australian Services Union is staging rallies across the country, culminating in Canberra, where a group will meet with both sides of government. The campaign is calling for adequate funding, minimum safety standards for working conditions and investment in skills development.
Under the NDIS pricing, it is very difficult for us to strongly invest in training and supporting our workforce the way we would like to. We are doing that at House for No Steps, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. We're a not-for-profit organisation. Our profits go into the quality of our supports. It's increasingly difficult to do that where we're recording losses because of the NDIA pricing.
Georgia Ma, NBN News.
There's no facts in the RCA report at all. It's all opinion, hearsay.
It's the everyday need putting pressure on hip pockets. And as a power struggle continues in the nation's capital, customer complaints are heating up, spiking for the first time in 5 years.
We received 2,344 complaints from the Hunter region of New South Wales in 2017-18. That's up 14% from the prior year.
It's no surprise electricity prices across the state have soared by more than 120% in the past decade.
High bills, poor customer service and complaints related to payment difficulties were the biggest issues for people in that area. That's consistent with New South Wales as a whole.
3 in 5 Hunter complaints revolved around billing. Alarmingly, the number of customers struggling to pay said bills skyrocketed, with complaints rising 30% in the last financial year alone. The Ombudsman has one goal: to give customers a voice.
To strengthen consumer protections and provide free, fair and independent dispute resolutions for consumers across New South Wales, particularly for those who are doing it tough.
If you have concerns, simply head to the website on your screen. Samantha Long, NBN News.
Supporting and encouraging each other, these visually impaired young adults explore the Hunter wetlands.
They're supported here and they're with friends, so it's fun. So they're more likely to try things here that they wouldn't anywhere else.
Such as planting trees, canoeing, even cooking a barbecue lunch. Experiences that organisers say provide valuable skills and a welcome confidence boost.
The kids usually come away feeling really good about what they've achieved.
It comes following a survey of more than 380 people who use white canes that suggests everyday Australians regularly underestimate their abilities. 64% of cane users say they have been grabbed on the street without being asked whether they need assistance, while 67% say they have been ignored in conversations, with people chatting to their companion or carer instead. The advice from experts:
rather than assuming that they might need help, just go up and say, "G'day, my name's Fiona. Would you like some help? Can I help you?"
Guide Dogs New South Wales hopes its programs prove the visually impaired can do virtually anything they want without requiring assistance.
The hope for these kids is that they have a happy, fulfilling life.
Sam Burbury, NBN News.
Star striker Katie Stengel back at the Jets for another season.
Is there anywhere else in the world you'd rather be than Newcastle?
No, of course not. It's beautiful here.
And this time she's brought a friend, playing such a big role in convincing Taylor Smith to come down under. Stengel jokes she should get a finder's fee.
I should. Deansy, look it up. I need to put that in my contract. No, Taylor and I go way back. Growing up, we did a bunch of youth camps together, but that was probably 10 years ago. So recently we haven't played together. We played more against each other, but it's always been fun, and so far in training it's been good.
Smith is just one of the star recruits that has Stengel excited and full of belief Newcastle can go further than last year's long-awaited finals berth.
We always want to end up on top, and I think realistic goal last year was, making the semis, and I think we could just progress from there, and grand final should definitely be in our sights. I think it's just getting more comfortable with each other, and I think we can always expect to get better this year.
But she's also well aware rival clubs are on the rise too. It's shaping up as the W League's biggest season to date.
I think this is definitely the most competitive it's been, and I think it's going to be an amazing season with all these new internationals, and the ones who keep repeating and coming back, there's a reason for it.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
Russell and his teammate Andre Heimgartner started 13th in the Great Race. Despite some decent speed, a series of mishaps ensured they never managed to crack the top 10.
Double stacked twice, which means you come in and wait behind your teammate while they kind of get a service and some fuel. So we lost 60 seconds to our teammate alone in the pits. So from there, it was just trying to play catch up all day.
As disappointing as the result was, the Novocastrian was happy to be trackside to witness Craig Lowndes' 7th win.
When he passed Dave Reynolds for the lead, everyone just went nuts around the whole place. All the grandstands were going nuts. And then every single lap for the last 5 laps, everyone in the grandstand was cheering every time we'd gone past.
Russell is still trying to finalise details of a support category drive for the Newcastle 500. But he still has one more race to go as part of his 3-drive endurance event contract.
No practice days, that's what Bathurst was for, and then roll into the Gold Coast with some concrete walls and some curves and stuff like that and try and have some fun.